Hey guys, welcome to What You Requested Felony Friday, where we delve into the mysteries of true crime cases that you've requested, not just on my channel, but other true crime YouTubers' comments as well. This story today was gotten from Molly Westbrook's comments by the name Jen RS 0445, saying, "Could you please cover the horrific case of Channon Christian and Christopher Newman? This murder happened where I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. No true crime YouTuber I've asked will touch this case because it was a hate crime. These young people's story deserve to be told." And after reading that, I was like, of course, let's swim right in, even though you were not talking to me. So the setting is Knoxville, Tennessee in 2007, and there were these two young, beautiful, happy couples called Christopher Newman and Channon Christian. Some people even say people were jealous of the beautiful love that blossomed between them. I mean, teenage love, well, not really teenage love, but like, this kind of university love that just makes everyone on campus like, ugh, but they were still so cute. If you guys understand what I'm saying. So a little backstory on their lives. Christopher was born in September of 1983, and he used to play baseball for the Halls High School Red Devils. He graduated in 2002 and went on to attend Pellissippi State Technical Community College, and then he became a carpenter. Channon Christian, on the other hand, she was born on the 29th of April in 1985 in Texas. She was living in Louisiana before she moved to Tennessee with her family in 1997. So she went on to graduate from Farragut High School in 2003. She also attended the University of Tennessee, where she was a senior majoring in sociology. Channon was very beautiful and she had such a kind soul. And she had just 1 year left to finish university before this particular case happened. So Channon was gifted a car over into the New Year's in 2007, and it was a black shining Toyota 4Runner. It was so beautiful. She loved it and she was always driving it around campus. I mean, her parents got her the car over the New Year. So on the 6th of January on 2007, Channon and Christopher had just come back to campus, after spending the New Year's and Christmas mostly with their family. So they decided to go on a date together, just to be cute and meet up for the time that they had lost without seeing each other for a while. So it was a dinner date. So they decided to, that after this dinner, they were going to go for a mutual friends party, and this party was actually hosted by, I think it was Shannon's friend, but the friend met Channon through Christopher, if that makes sense. So Channon and the friend became pretty close because it was a girl, and whatnot. So they were supposed to go for this party early, but because they had already planned this particular day for their date, they decided that they were going to go for their dates first, then show up to the party. So Channon decided that she was not going to dress up at her apartment, and she wanted to dress up at her friend's place, Cara. But by the time she got to Cara's place, Cara had already left the party, so she just decided to call Christian to come pick her up for their dinner dates from Cara's place. So Christian arrives at Cara's apartment and he calls Channon and tells her that he's downstairs. So Channon is excited and she just goes downstairs to meet Christian. And they are just happy to see each other at this point. And they were all lovey-dovey outside and greeting each other right before they were supposed to go back upstairs to Cara's apartment. But what they did not notice was that there were a group of 5 people who were staring at them from the other side of the parking lot. In the position of these 5 people, Channon and Christopher did not notice that these people were staring at them, and even when they were getting close to them, they were just so wrapped up in each other, and they were hugging each other, just giving each other kisses, and because they missed each other. And before you know it, 2 of them gripped Channon from behind, the other 2 gripped Christian from behind and yanked them apart, while the 5th person was pointing a gun in their faces. And at this point, Channon and Christian just think to themselves okay, you know what, they just want the car, or they just want some things, and after they've finished robbing them or whatever, they'll be safe and they'll just go back home, and this is just going to be an experience. But before you know it, the person that was holding the gun said, "Get in the car." They tied their hands behind their backs at gunpoint and then forced them into the back seat of Shannon's new black SUV. They then drove them to number 23 Chapman Street, who was owned by Lamarcus Davidson. So this isn't even better news because he's a drug dealer, and you can just imagine what they were going to go through in this home. So Davidson was part of them, actually, that took them from the parking lot, by the way. He was even the one holding the gun. So I don't want to confuse you guys in thinking that he was just at his home and they came to him in his house. No, he was there. He was the instigator, the ringleader, he was everything. So Davidson has a brother called Letalvis Cobbins who was at home at the time that all of this was happening. He was with his girlfriend called Vanessa. So Letalvis isn't really Davidson's like full brother, like they're half brothers. So just putting that out there. So Vanessa was just chilling in the house while everyone in the home was high on PCP. I think she also had a strain of that, actually. I'm not really sure. So the names of these men are Letalvis D. Cobbins, Lemaricus D. Davidson. So like I said, Letalvis Cobbins and Lemaricus Davidson are half brothers. There was George Thomas, and then there's Eric Boyd. George Thomas, I might call him Giovanni because his nickname is G to them. So just in case I'm saying G or Giovanni, just know I mean George Thomas, okay? So they bring Channon and Chris into the living room, and from the bedroom of Letalvis, where Letalvis and Vanessa were, they saw two white folks tied up and brought into the house. I mean, imagine the shock on their faces. So Letalvis immediately is like, no, I'm out. I'm not going to be a part of this. And Vanessa and I are leaving. The whole time, Vanessa is just on standby, scared to shit, and just staring at them. Immediately, it seemed like Letalvis wanted to leave with Vanessa. Davidson got really mad and he started an argument with him to the extent that he started throwing his gun in the air and just making everyone uncomfortable, like he was going to shoot them. So he gets so mad that he's pointing the gun at both Vanessa and Letalvis. That's when Letalvis was like, whoa, okay bro, like this is going too far. We're not going anywhere and we're right here. Which basically means they were held hostage in their own home because they were afraid that Davidson was gonna shoot them. So it doesn't stop there, actually, because let's be for real, I don't think he was ever going to shoot his brother. Vanessa, maybe. But since he saw they were backing down, he decides to point the gun at Giovanni, that's George, and his nickname is G. And then G is just on the corner of the house watching all this happen, and he's like, yo, what the fuck, like, what did I do? Then Davidson is like, prove yourself. And everyone now is just in the living room and is like, what the fuck is wrong, David? Like, he's going insane and they're confused. So Giovanni is like, prove myself for what? And then he's like, prove yourself that I can trust you. So obviously this means that everything that has happened thus far is sealed in his mouth. So Giovanni tells him that he's with him every step of the way, and everything that he's going to do, he's going to help him do it. So that already made Davidson think that, okay, so I know he's not going to snitch. I know he's not going to do anything that has to do with me being caught, because now he's going to have a hand in it. So not too long after, they leave with Christopher. That's the guy. So right on the side of the common area, Channon is tied to a duffel bag. And Letalvis feels so bad for her, and then he offers her water. She collects it and she drinks it, and then he also asks her if she would like to smoke some cigarettes. And Channon accepted this, you know, so he gave her the smoke and lit it up for her. And he just was being really nice to Channon. And I mean, I guess, yeah, he wasn't the one that abducted her, but like, I mean, I don't know, just kind of weird. After this, Letalvis took her to the next room. So Channon is smoking with Letalvis at this point, and everything is quiet for a while. Then Vanessa calls Letalvis from the common area, and she's complaining that her stomach is hurting, and then eventually she needs to use the restroom. So Letalvis goes back into the room that Channon is tied in, and Channon asks Letalvis, can you please convince him to let me go? Letalvis now tells her that he's going to try his very best to let her go. So it goes quiet again for a while, and Channon offers Letalvis oral sex for her freedom. And he agrees. So he pulls down his trousers and starts sticking his into Shannon's mouth, because, you know, she's tied up and she can't do anything with her hands. So not long after, they hear a flush in the toilet, which obviously is Vanessa in the next room coming out from the restroom, because, you know, I told you that she had a running stomach. So she was coming out of the restroom. So hearing this, Letalvis got spooked. And for this reason, he jumped up and quickly started to fix his clothes, like, but ejaculation had already gotten all over Shannon's shirt and pants. So he just went back to the sitting room to sit down with Vanessa like nothing had happened. And this is just so freaking weird to me. Your girlfriend is having a running stomach in the next room and you're busy sticking your dick in someone's mouth that your brother just abducted. This is all just seeming like a movie I am not even going to freaking like. So not long after, George and Davidson had come back from going outside, and the only thing that they wanted to do at this point was to make Shannon suffer, because at this point they were just repeatedly raping and beating her. Like, Vanessa was hearing it from the next room and she was so mortified. Like, they were even using objects in her private parts. Like, they were even using objects to assault her in her private part. Like, after he was done, he and his accomplices, that's him, Giovanni, and I think like Talvis was even part at this point, because he knew that he had, done that and he had ejaculated on her. So he was trying to just use that opportunity to like just cover his own tracks. So they poured bleach down her throat and scrubbed her body, including her bleeding area that was battered with objects, and they were just cleaning using sponge and bleach to clean her whole body. So after this, they told Letalvis and Vanessa to get in the car, and right now they are driving to George's house, that's Giovanni's house. And on the way there, Davidson is literally having a smile on his face, telling Letalvis and Vanessa about his story times of how in the past him and his friends would always hijack people, take them to the ATM to force them to withdraw their money, and then he would tie them up somewhere beside the street, but that they would never do anything to them. So Letalvis in his head at this point is thinking that, oh, okay, this is exactly what they're just going to do to these abducted people. Like, it's not like they're going to kill them or anything. So all this happened on a Saturday, and by Sunday morning, they woke up in George's house, and Davidson's girlfriend, Daphne, comes over to the house. Then she gets into a huge fight with Davidson. So he decides he's not gonna give her the gifts that he wanted to give her. So immediately Daphne storms off out of the house. He just turns to ask Vanessa, do you want this stuff? Because since Daphne is not gonna take it, I'll just throw it away anyway. So he just leaves the stuff on the couch out of anger because he just finished fighting with his girlfriend Daphne. So the craziest part about this story is, these things were not bought. These things were for Shannon. He literally didn't buy them to gift her. He literally took them from her body and her car when he abducted her. So by the time he goes into the room where Shannon is in, Shannon is naked from the waist down. So he grabs her by the neck and he takes her into the kitchen and literally is trying to choke her in front of everyone. And at this point, Shannon is crying and begging, and he just keeps choking her. So Shannon is tired of struggling, so she doesn't have any more energy in her body anymore. So she falls to the floor, and then Davidson yells, check her pulse right now. He was directing this at Vanessa. He's literally just shouting at her, check her pulse, check her pulse. And Vanessa is confused, and Vanessa is also crying because she's saying that I'm not a nurse. I don't know how to check her pulse. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't even know why I'm even here in the first place. So Davidson does everything himself because he gets tired of Vanessa crying. So he then just got a black garbage bag and tossed her body into it. It was a really big garbage bag, so he just made Shannon bend into like this kind of like position where she's able to fit into the garbage can, and he just throws her outside in the garbage can that's outside their house while she was still alive. So obviously, that she's hearing all this, that's even if she's conscious at this point. Everything that they did to her, pouring bleach down her throat, everything, she was awake through all of it. Like, that's just so brutally fucking sickening. So all of this is happening, right? And Channon and Christian's family are now wondering where they are because they didn't show up to the party. So now they eventually file a missing persons case. When the next morning comes and now no one has heard anything from them, they decide to contact law enforcement, and they tell them that they'll have to look for them themselves. And I'm confused at this point. I'm like, how can I meet law enforcement that someone is missing and they tell me to track the people myself? So anyway, Shannon's friends and family did not have time to even like try to have a fight with law enforcement, so they just end up tracking Shannon's phone down to Sherry Street phone tower. And when Shannon's family and friends went there, they saw her abandoned Toyota 4Runner on the 8th of January from like 2:30 a.m. to like 3 a.m. So several items were missing from Shannon's vehicle, including a teddy bear, some photographs that Christian kept there, her iPhone charger, her iPod. The front seats were pushed back, and it could not have been Channon that did this, because the way the car was pushed back, her feet would never have been able to reach the pedals. So the floorboard was covered with mud, inconsistent with how Channon would have ever maintained her vehicle, because like I said, she loved her vehicle so much that there's no way that she would keep her vehicle like that. So the stickers that Christian kept on the outside windows had also been removed. So inside the vehicle was a pack of Newport cigarettes, and everyone knows that Christian, Channon and Christopher Newsom don't smoke, so it couldn't have been them that owned this pack of cigarettes. So, and at this point you may be wondering, what did they do to Christopher? Well, apparently Newsom's body was found nearby a railroad track on the 7th of January at like 12:20 p.m. by a Norfolk Southern Railroad employee. There was even semen found inside of his body, but DNA in the semen had been destroyed by fire. Yes, guys, they literally set him on fire. So his hands were tied behind his back and his feet were bound together. So he was blindfolded with a bandana and gagged with a sock. So when he was found, he was only wearing a t-shirt and some underwear, and he died by 2 gunshots, one to his neck, which wasn't fatal. Then the second one went straight to his head and killed him immediately. So after killing him, they poured gasoline on Newsom and then they set him on fire and left him beside a railroad track. So the families and friends of Channon reported to the police about the fact that they had found Shannon's vehicle, and the vehicle yielded fingerprint evidence leading to Lemarcus Davidson of 2316 Chipman Street, and this address was just 2 blocks away from where Christian's car was parked. So the police go to the address, but there's no one at home. So they forcefully enter the home, and while they're searching, they see Christian's hand sticking out of the garbage can near the kitchen. So by the time they open it, they see Shannon's body wrapped in several garbage bags, and her eyes were wide open, meaning that when they stuffed her in the garbage, she was still alive. And with autopsy, it was seen that she died by suffocation. So, which means that all the horrible things that they had done to her, she hadn't even died yet. She died in that trash garbage due to suffocation. So the bags had Davidson's fingerprints all over it. Davidson's fingerprints were everywhere. It was found on the box of the garbage bags. Davidson's sperm was found in Christian's vagina and anus, while Cobbin's sperm was found in her mouth. Like I said, that's Lethalvis Cobbins, like the one that had his girlfriend in the next room, and he was doing that to Channon. So also inside the house, there were several items that belonged to Christian, Channon, and Christopher Newsom, including Christian's purse, the clothing that she had in her vehicles, Christian's shoes, camera photographs, which were ripped and burned, by the way, and Newsom's baseball caps and driver's license were also found in this apartment. So several of the victims' belongings just had Davidson's fingerprint all over them. I don't know how he really thought that he was not going to get caught. So the items from Christian's SUV were shoved into trash bags, and in addition to the sperm found on Christian's body, Davidson's sperm was also found on Christian's jeans, while Cobbin's sperm was found on her camisole. The shell casings from keeping gun bullets was also found on Davidson's house, and this matched the bullets that were used to kill Newsom. So the police had, gotten enough evidence at this point without even catching them. So when the police had enough reason to believe that they found the person that did this, they began searching for Davidson everywhere, and they had tracked some calls that Davidson had made within like hours, and it all happened to be that he was talking to his friend Boyd, that's Eric Boyd, that actually helped him in this crime. So the police didn't have to do much before Boyd gave them information regarding Davidson's whereabouts, and he directed them to a vacant house, and this is where Davidson was arrested. I don't know whether Boyd, because obviously after they were leaving Eric's George's place, I think they went their separate ways. Everybody just separated. So I'm thinking that Boyd was thinking that, okay, they've not caught him yet. They just think that, okay, he knows about it, which is very weird. Like, don't be so freaking stupid. I mean, I don't think police also even knew anything at this point that Boyd was involved, because Boyd's fingerprints or sperm was not seen anywhere. So when they took Davidson for questioning, he told 5 different stories. One saying that he had left the house on Friday and knew nothing of the crimes. 2 saying that Cobbins and Thomas, that's Letalvis and Thomas, like arrived at his house around 10 p.m. on a Friday and informed him that they had carjacked some people who were in the vehicle. So he saw these 2 people in the back seat tied up, and he did not want any part of it. So he just went to smoke, and he used the SUV to deal drugs. And then he wiped it clean, and that was all he did. He was also saying that he didn't go past the living room and that he never raped anyone. Way to go, Davidson. Very believable. So obviously at this point, Davidson did not know that they had done a lot of research and that his sperm was found everywhere. So he was just denying it at this point, which is normal. Criminals will obviously deny. On the 11th of January, Thomas, Cobbins, and Vanessa were arrested in Lebanon, Kentucky. So the police seized all of the items, which included a laptop that they were using to view the news coverages of the murder of Kristen Channon and Christopher Newsom. And you guys, I just want to know some background of this kind of thing. I don't know, why is it that criminals, when they have committed a crime, they always go back to the area of their crimes, or they always follow up or research on their crimes? Is there a psychology behind why do they do that? Same thing that happened with what they call this guy that killed a lot of students, that happened recently, that he was just always circulating around the area. I mean, I don't know why do they do that. Does someone have the answer to that? Is there a scientific research on it? So when they caught them, they were giving different statements. Letalvis gave a statement claiming that he, Boyd, and Davidson had driven to the complex for someone to meet a girl, and then they saw an SUV with a female in a driver's seat, and she was speaking to a male. And Davidson and Boyd carjacked them and ordered Cobbins to drive back to Chipman Street. And now immediately they got there, Davidson took the woman into the bedroom, and then Boyd drove away with the man. And when he returned, the man wasn't with him anymore. So just Giovanni, Thomas, Letalvis Cobbins, who is Davidson's half-brother, by the way, Lamarcus Davidson, were all faced with 46 charges. Davidson had actually been arrested in the past for carjacking and robbery in 2006, and Letalvis was arrested in 2003 for attempted robbery. Like brother, really. It just seems like Davidson is the head overachiever, and Letalvis is just always trying to follow in his footsteps but never actually really gets through it. I don't know if you guys understand what I mean. So Davidson was also indicted for a second robbery committed at Pizza Hut just 1 day after the murders. So he had murdered these 2 beautiful, innocent people, and he just thought, wow, I'm just going to up and go to Pizza Hut and just rob them because I need free pizza. So Vanessa Lynn faced 40 Tennessee state charges after she was arrested in her hometown in Lebanon, Kentucky, and indicted on 12 counts of felony murder related to rape, robbery, kidnapping, and theft. So Eric Dwayne Boyd, he was charged with being an accessory to a carjacking, resulting in serious bodily injury to another person and misprision of a felony. Boyd was later accused by Thomas and Letalvis of the rape and murder of Channon and Christopher. And it was a whole other court case because they took it up. And they were not having it that Eric was not getting more sentence than at least Vanessa. So they outed him, and it was just a whole other court case, and they were just going to be in prison. I don't know. I feel like at this point the death penalty is actually valid, especially for Davidson. I do not know why he did not get the death penalty. I don't know. They said some countries still have it. I don't know if the US still has it, but for something like this, it's actually deserved. So guys, thank you very much for listening in to the end. I would like to know your opinion, and you can give your case suggestions down below, or don't, and I'll just find it in another True Crime YouTuber's comments. See ya!